Yeah. So hi guys, good morning to all of you. So today we are starting some in-depth concept of our AWS and Linux and some operating system basic also. So uh, can anyone confirm am I audible or not before we start the session? Can anyone confirm? Okay, fine. So in the last session we covered that how we can set up the our Linux machine, how we can install it, how we can get the OS and the what the workstation means. So if I go in depth of the operating system and any application, like let's assume we have one application, like any application. It doesn't mean like application means it might be system application or other application which we are having that called the system software application software, that kind of two kind of software we have. It's called the, don't call it application, it's called it as software. We have a software, so everyone knows what's the means of software is a group of programs. And we have two kind of software majorly, system software and application software, as everyone knows. So if we talk about the system software and application software, what it will mean and how we can use it, because every program which is created, it's created for any use. And if we are using it, so there are two persons of a, like in every life cycle of program which interact with the application. So that is first is user and second is developer, and we call it is like a creator. So that one, so developer and creator, that they are creating, but for whom they are creating for the users. And we go inside like users. So the thing is, like they have a multiple users, and multiple user have multiple different requirements, they need different things. So for an example, if I give you a very simple example, like you are in your OS, it doesn't mean like you are in the Linux, Windows, Mac, or any other. So you are a user, and other person, like you have a one user one, and second is user two. So if we talk about like user one have a like different kind of requirement, user two and different requirement. They need a different workspace for working. They need it different. So how we can manage it? So basically, in the OS, when we are porting the OS, so we need the like tell to the OS like we are belong to which user, and how we can say them by the username. We can tell him like we are the user, but how we can tell him like anyone can give our name and the username and can go and use our infrastructure, and if we call it like our account, our workspace, they can use. But we don't want that. So for that we need some security. We need some security. So how we can secure them? Like for every user we can set a password. Password is like multiple type. The normal password which we are setting it, pin which we are using, the SSS keys, and some authentication token. It might be anything. All are with the authentic. That means once user come inside, they have to log in. Login means they have to authenticate. Our if we're talking about like authenticate, so authenticate, there is a similar word like authenticate that called authorization. That is the completely different meaning of authenticate and authentication. If we talk, so currently we are talking about the authenticate. So authenticate means like user have to authenticate themselves via their username and other credentials, which we call the password. We call the credential. Credential. So if we go there, so every application have a different method of authenticate. Some use the authentication token, some use the key, or some have the hash value. So it depends upon the application. But in the simple, for the authenticate, we use the simplest way of user and pass. And the more advanced version which come out the authenticate that called the MFA, multi-factor authentication. Otherwise, like you have a one kind of 2FA, like a two-factor authentication. So that the things you have used some kind of authenticating software where you get the some authenticated code, so you have to put it after your password. So that's the difference. For the more security, enhanced security, we will use that. Uh, but the main thing is, if you are want to use any application, you need a user. But if you are authenticating your user, like you are the user one, and if I talk like, let's give a name the called Bob. So if you have a user Bob, so what you can do, you can give user Bob and you have some credentials you can put there. But inside that, what you can see, how what kind of things you can use, that the means of the authorization. Like you can't use anything in your system. I told you like generally in the US users, we have a three kind of user. First called the root, or admin. Second is the general user, and third is the service user. So in the three types of user, if we go, so how we can, like everyone has their username or authentication method, but what the means of outside, but because the thing is like this user have a different permission, this has different. So authorization means the user which we are login, what permissions he have or they have, so they can go in their workspace, and what kind of command they can use, which directory they can use, and which method of like how they have a read only permission, they have a write, they have a update permission, they can delete these things. So multiple things they can use. So you have to, like your user have to authorize. It doesn't mean like you can authenticate, but if you don't have authorized person, so you can go inside through this. Okay. So for using any application for login, you need first thing, you have to authenticate, and then the prerequisite of authenticate is authorization. You have to be an authorized person. Okay, that's a simple thing of anyways. And what's like in the user, if you see, so what the user means and how we are using it. So in the user, The simple thing is, when you are adding any user anywhere, what we can do, we can give their name. First thing, the workspace which they are using, we call the home directory of the user, and they will have a command line access or which shell they are using. So we can give him the shell access. And the more thing is come like in the bigger word is called group. So what the group means, like if you have a some set of users, user 1 2 3 4 and so on, like you have a multiple set of user which needs the same permission and same thing. So what you can do, you can make a group of that, and every permission you don't have to attach on single user, you can attach to the group. Okay, so you need the group, and we are attaching one name, one group in it. So every, if you know, name might be similar, like I have my name Bobby, and it might be some other person have a different sorry same name called Bobby. So it might be conflict. The operating system or the application, they can't able to uh, sync and authenticate this. They can't able to check how and which user is logged. So what they are doing, they are allocating one ID to group. And so these are the things here for creating the user. And if you go for creating the user, these are the prerequisites and these are the things we can manage inside our user creation. And also it's a belong, the user creation and the user concept is called that you have a one identity, and you have a access, and you are managing them, like you are managing the user. So what is called, it's called the IAM. Identity means your user, access means your permissions which you have, management like if you have multiple set of users, so you are managing. So that's called the IAM. You have heard the term called access management. So what it does means, and this is not only restricted to the, if I call the OS and the cloud, the every application which need any account of one, they have the capability to manage multi-user. We have one term called the multi-user multi-user. So what are, like any application which have the multi-user tendency, which they give us the future of the multi-user. So we have the IAM there, because if we have multiple user, we can't give the whole access to every user and the same directory. Because the thing is, if for example user A created a file called the a.txt, simple, in their location, and if we are giving the same permission to the user B, so user B can modify that, and the work of the user A will be destroyed. So we don't want that. So for that, we need the multi-user. We are using the IAM. And in the AWS, if we talk, I'm going like I'm covering multiple things together, the OS things and the AWS thing, because some of the concepts are the things like which is similar in the AWS and in the operating system or any application. They are similar. So what we can do, we are covering both things parallel, so it will save our time. Also, you don't have to learn same thing separate from the operating system or Linux which are taught, and then you have to go in the AWS. see the same thing, you will confuse like what's the means, what's the rules. So I will complete all the things in one go, so you can just get the combined knowledge of both. Okay, so that's why I'm using here our operating system and the cloud, both things together. Okay, so if we go in the AWS, so in the AWS this is the cloud, and they are providing everything as a service. What is uh, as a service? So we call this as a service, as a service, because this is the cloud service provider and they provide so what they will give infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. They have multiple things, so it depends upon the user and the layer which they are providing, and the access where they are giving to us and managing by our, it depends upon the like which in which category that service block. So in the AWS they have one service called the IAM also. They have the same name, IAM, identity access manager. So all the what I say, the user management things, the group management things, the permissions, and yeah. So these are all the things managed by the IAM. But in the AWS, if you talk about the permissions, it's a little bit have a much more things, because the thing is in the AWS we have two person. First is called we as a user, and second we call the service. What service mean? Like the AWS services which we have, the AWS service which we have now. So data. So the thing is they are managing the both permission, because uh, it might be for one, like we have see one root user, the main user account we have in the AWS, and we have access of multiple services. And let's assume our one service is, give the example of EC2. This is a simple service. I will talk about this later what the meaning of. And we have one service called the Lambda. So let's think if okay, uh, if we are having the EC2 and Lambda, so these are the two services given provided by the AWS. So in the AWS we have a services called EC2 and Lambda. The if we go give the overview of the simple thing, this is for the VM and per networking things, and Lambda is a, if you got and can give a simple overview that you can run any program code without the OS. So there's a, that called the serverless thing. Serverless. Serverless. So they have a serverless thing, serverless service. So if you like you are writing one code, let's see in the Python language, and you are managed, you are want to affect it to the EC2. So that means your Lambda service needs the permission of the EC2. So for that, what we are doing in this kind of scenario, we are creating one role. Okay, we are creating one role, and what the role mean? In the role, we can give the permission, like for which service we are creating or for which all the service they can use. Okay, maybe services. So uh, I don't know what's your name. You are using different name here. So I am explaining a concept called the IAM uh, in the OS prospectus and the AWS cloud prospectus both. So I have explained what thing you can watch our starting part of this session. You will get that. And IAM is a one service of AWS also, and in the AWS we have other services. So if you call, IAM is used for the permission and these things. So for the permission I am talking about, in the permission they have the roles, and the roles is using for a service, and we have a user. So user we can add the policy. Okay, so with this method we can use the uh, IAM in the AWS. So why I covered the IAM part today is that because many of you don't have the access via CLI in the AWS. So how you can create? I told you like you can create a user access key, secret key, but how you can go and which permission you have to have, you have a multiple question on that. So that's why we are covering this part in the just starting sessions. So if we are going inside our AWS, so wait, see, let me go in a moment. So once you have the access of your AWS account, it will look like this something. So in the service you have a region. In here you will see here, and if you see here, there is a search box for searching some docs, service features, and other things. And if you are new, you can read this article, the blog. They will give you manual. And if we open this thing, so if you see here, this part called the service. So if you open the service, you will see the multiple services provided by the AWS. If you want, I can go in the all service. If you see, these are the services provided by the AWS. It's a n number of it, but I don't want to go all of this. And if you see here, there was a service called IAM. What is the description says? Manage access to AWS resources. Okay, so if you are managing the access uh, by of the AWS resources. So inside the AWS, which service we have, which resource we have, we can use. And if you see, and once you open the IAM, you will see this kind of dashboard. And here you can get the all the details like which user groups. I talked about the groups already. What are the groups you have, or how many users you have, the rules, policies. Sorry, um, I called the, yeah, policies you have. Identity provider. What the identity provider means? Like you can use the other identity provider if you don't want to use the same identity method for giving which AWS have, you can use other also and integrate both with the AWS. So you have a one identity provider called if I told you identity provider, identity provider. What the provider means? Here identity provider. Then we have a multiple called like auth, SAML, if you know the SSO. So these kind of identity provider we have. So multiple organizations are using for managing their identity. So these are the things we have. Yeah. And they will say show you some security recommendation also. I didn't use this access key from the last year. They are giving me this warning. So if we go inside, I am covering that how you can create the user first, because for using the AWS you need the access key secretly. For that you have to create a user. So if you are going here in the user and click on it, you will see these are the user. Here we have a one username called Bobby. I am opening this and you will see what kind of permission my user have. So these are the permission. I have Papa user access, I have admin access. So these are the policies which we are KMS for access. So I will tell you what are the things. So with this way, yeah. And let me go and how you can create the user. If you go add user, and here you can give the name. I am giving my name called Bobby underscore test. I will not use, and then you have to give the type like what method of credentials you want. So you want the access key secret key that call that for the API CLI. So we need the developer tools as well. So for that we need this programming access key, and then we are using this what I tell you, this password. So password is like your user, and then you can give a auto generate. You can give any custom password, and then auto generated password. So I am using, and then you are adding the permissions here. The permissions you can use if you have any group. Otherwise, you can from the user you can get. Otherwise, you can access the policy permissions directly. So if you call, these are the what I say, these are the policies we have, the permissions we have. You can give the admin access amplifies. They have the first, they call the administrator access. That means it will give the all the permissions of your AWS account to you in the this in what I say, in the AWS account. They will give you all the access, all the for the all the access. So if you are opening this, so if you are going in this policy summary, so if you see the version statement, in the statement it mentioned allow effect allow action star asterisk star means that all the possible combination, all the possible star means like all the services allow for all the action, like resources means all the resources which we are having in the AWS we are allowing for all, and action we are allowing all the actions. So if you I am asking you for other simple Amazon Airflow read only access. So if I am opening this policy, if you open this, see allow which actions, these actions only for all the resources. So you can able to use this for all the resources. Okay. So these things there you can use the permission. I am using this, so you have to tick mark here which all the services. The only things which admin can not see is called the billing of your AWS account. From the you can see, and they have a one called the billing user or something kind of that. There you can get the billing dashboard, but you can't get the other things. So then you can add tags, like if you are managing a bigger infrastructure, you can attach any tags, so you can use that tags for identifying the things, like you can give the email and other things. Then you can review. In the review, it will show you all the things how we are giving what all the things. So we are using the two policies, permissions here, tags 0, name is this, program access and control access management, auto generated password. And if I click on the create user, so it will create a one user. You can send it to your in your mail if you want. You can copy the access key here, and I don't want to expose my password and secret key, otherwise you guys can directly go in my account and do that. And what you can just download it. I will suggest you to download it. So you will get, let me just download. I am just opening. I will not show the whole access key secret key. Yeah, it will not show. So this is your name, the password this have. Okay, I can't, I can show you the access key, but secret key I can't expose. So here you will get, and with the AWS configure command you can copy paste from here. So by this method you can create. So currently I don't need this user, so I'm closing it first. Now it will show you this user created, and I don't know this user, so I'm creating it. So with this method it will delete the user, but because I don't need this user here. Now for testing I have another account also. So this is the method to create the, this is the method to create the user in the AWS, and you can use. And if I go in the Linux and show you the all the, so this is your what I say, uh, the task and the things. If you go, I think in the future Techno India, Techno India, yeah, I think we have one doc of user, so you can see from here. You will get the things like what are the users, like how to create the account. They will see, you will see all the things. Yeah, it. I think we have covered in the one article. What are the users? So it's the same, but in the AWS you are using dashboard initially, but in the real life I talk, you have your what I say, you have your GUI. So see, the thing is, if I talk about the AWS basis, in the AWS you have three kind of what is it, the API, CLI, and we have another called the shell, the cloud shell which we are getting, and the dashboard. So we can use by this, but in normal ways how we can use by a GUI and CLI. These are the two interfaces we have. Here we, in the here we don't have that because AWS is getting the dashboard from the web UI, so they have a enabled web UI API things which we are because they are the application. And so these are, so here you can use the commands for doing anything and the GUI. So in the GUI you can see, if I show you in the my user change user control. So these kind of thing you have in your so I think, I don't know why it's not opening. Okay, no problem. So if you see now, here my name is coming, so I have this user change user account. So these kind of settings we have in the Windows and the rel also. So I want to like you guys can go by the tomorrow, uh, just try to create this user in the AWS, set up it, and we will see in the next session how we are going in this what is it in the Linux, how the user things working and other permission thing, because I don't want to bombard of everything in one go, uh, but make it a short and crispier. uh, Complete one thing, then continue. If I go in the AWS things, I covered the AWS user things, and I go in the Linux, so will guys can might be confused. So I don't want this. So just practice till here. I know we have a like shorter session today, but it's good because the thing is like if we go in the security column, so the security in the user things is like much more complex. If you are doing one thing wrong, it might be destroying your whole environment. So go here, complete it till here. Create a one your admin admin user on the AWS. Create. Also, I can refer you AWS. So in the CLI, they will also give you IAM option. So just refer this doc. They have all the things and try to use it. Like you can add the group, you can add the policy to create access key, secret key. So these are all the things you can use. Just go through the all the features which AWS provides, and we will see in the tomorrow session like how access is, like user creation, the password setting in the work in the Linux, and what are the difference we have in the AWS and the normal OS. We will compare the things tomorrow, and uh, by the end of the tomorrow we will complete this IAM part completely. Okay, so if you guys have any doubt you can ask. If you guys have any doubt you can ask, otherwise we will wrap up today a little bit early. So I think we are good to go. No one has the issue. So practice till here. If you have any queries, you can put on the group. My team will help you to solve your queries. Also, we will check if we have any doc for the user creation and user thing. So we will send it that to you. So you can just refer the doc and learn it more. Uh, by the time like we are wrapping today. Bye guys. Have a nice day. Okay. Bye. Bye bye.